Just gonna be there the first week. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I'll just work on
this. Yeah, and one of them, people from the college want to do it in November, so I know one of them.
Oh, you can switch them down.
And
I just don't want to wait too long for it. They're gonna figure it out the rest of the month.
any word on Mr. Mayor?
That's what I was wondering. Fall, I guess it is.
Where is
They added 2 fall sports that require fields.
none of us yet?
So, so the teachers like will train this year, like.
Yeah, I like the usual, but he was not at the judge's breakfast. Oh, yeah, for everything.
Somebody at the temple here. Well, there's soccer, boys and girls, you know, football.
Oh.
Balls, and then we have flag football.
Chuck Russ?
Volleyball is 2, and they require fields. Obsidian has a brand new field. Down like over. I mean, you have to look at it. But this is easy. Hi, Alan.
Hey, how's it going?
What are you? Don't worry about it. Okay, we had Monday off, obviously Labor Day. And I'm not working tomorrow, so I had to pay 3 days into 5 days worth of work. It's stressful.
I'm sure that was no problem, right?
No way, anybody know you could do that, otherwise I'll try this. No, you can do it all the time. No, well, it works at the college.
Well, you guys don't have a union, do you?
Yeah, I'm in the union,
Or are you, what union is it?
CSE,
CSC?
I'm sorry, CSEA.
Oh, that's the union I'm in too.
There's an adjunct union in that part of too, but I can't remember what it is, so.
We're waiting for us. Yeah,
Texted him,
well, I hope he's okay.
It's home driving.
you did.
Like, like 2 hours ago, he came down Venice Harbor.
Oh, I know. Did you see those dogs?
Yeah, they ran on, I was behind this guy on his bike and like ran out.
Yeah.
Tried to get his tires after honking.
Sorry, I didn't mean to send a nasty email, but I've been trying to contact North Bay for days and those dogs. Well, there's dogs, but that one particular is like severely injured and just abandoned. I've been talking to all the neighbors. Sorry, it's probably not anything bad. No, sorry. We're just chit chatting.
Give you a little insight on that later,
Okay.
but someone was going out to visit.
All your mango also? Wow.
It always takes Alan,
What's that?
so it always takes you getting involved.
I know.
That's how we get them off the campus.
You're like, I'm going on. I'm gonna pull some teeth here pretty soon.
Well, I don't want a student getting, we have 2, we have high school on. We have 2 high schools on campus and we have college students. I don't want anybody getting hurt.
Well, do you guys wanna, I haven't got anything back from Russ, I guess we. Go ahead and- Vice Mayor,
I'm in charge.
go ahead and go.
Yeah, let's go. This is a workshop, so we'll start. Go ahead.
Okay.
You're up. We have a presentation.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, as part of our strategic planning workshop, there was a request to kind of give an overview like the projects going on in the city. This is focus on some of the large. Obviously, there's a lot of smaller ones around town or whatever, but here's kind of the overview. Pierce Field or the airport, sports complex, the resort concept at Red Oak Park, the Lakeshore Drive streetscape, Austin Resort, which is the property across the street. What we're just kind of calling South Walmart, which is the city-owned property around Walmart Tractor Supply. And then a variety of housing projects, a variety of roads projects, a variety of parks projects. And then a few other projects that I thought were important enough to talk about a little bit, but don't really fit in either of these. Yeah. So we'll jump into the airport one. Feel free to just, break in if you have any questions or whatever. I mean, this isn't 100% comprehensive, but should give an overview of the project concepts that we're working on now, kind of what the current situation is. Okay, so a couple of old photos. This is what was the Pierce Airport, which was operated by the county for a number of decades. Shut down in the early 90s, and the property was purchased by the city fairly shortly after.
That was through the redevelopment agency, right?
What was the reading?
I don't have a great information. I mean, I was told that the development around Walmart and McDonald's, that stuff started happening, and then there started being complaints about flight path and various things, and but I really honestly don't know all the reasons the county decided to do that. Would be something that would be pretty nice to have today, but
Wasn't it originally not owned by the county, but the army?
well, yeah, the long-term history, to digress a little bit, it was actually federally owned land. The airport, where the hospital is, where Obsidian is, like all of that was federal land. And some of this specific site was actually given to the Lower Lake Rancheria as tribal lands, and then they didn't occupy it. What's now known as Boy Nation. They didn't occupy it, and so the federal government took it back. This was something that happened to a lot of federal lands at the time. But anyway, that's some of the history here. And then at some point, all of this was transferred to the county. So if you look at the old records, where behavioral health, the old courthouse, all of that stuff on both sides of the highway there was federal land that gifted to the county, and then they've sold off over the years. Next, did you didn't respond, so we weren't sure we went ahead and got started.
Fine. I had a last minute phone call that wouldn't hang up.
Okay. Okay, so here's a more recent shot of the property. This was a couple of years ago, right when Starbucks was under starting construction. You can still see the location of the old runway, even though the pavement itself is gone there. Okay, so there's a number of different sort of concept plans floating out here. This conceptual plan document was done, I think, around 2021 by the city. We hired an architecture firm to sort of flush out some of the vision that the city had in this, and the current site plan that we're working from for the environmental impact report is somewhat different from this, but has the same overall focus. So the concepts are the same. So, the city could have sold this off for just some standard strip mall development a number of years ago, and probably some of it would be built out, but the council really wanted this to be, view this as an important project and something that we had one shot in doing right that really could transform the trajectory of Clear Lake. So the focus here is more of this property being a destination itself and creating more of a walkable downtown feel that has a mix of retail, a lot of food, some exciting public spaces. And we had discussions even back at this time with Adventist Health. And so there's about them really planting their flag here as part of this project. And so you'll see the wellness aspect sort of woven into the site. Just a few other kind of renderings to give you an idea. The road alignment is quite similar, although the current plan we're working on eliminates sort of the double roads right there with the sort of park space in between, and park space has been incorporated in other parts of the project design. There is residential development that's hopefully envisioned as part of the project. Now, this won't be single family stuff or affordable stuff, but the idea is something a little more high density, but townhouses, things that could have first floor retail, something that really doesn't exist anywhere in Lake County. But we feel like if this develops in this way, it could be a real attractive place for this type of residential. This is called street strategy public space. I mean, there's the idea is having public spaces where there can be a farmer's market, streets closed down for events, different activities that really bring more of a vibrancy that we don't really have a location for per se in the city right now. I mean, the hope still remains to bring some of that back to Lakeshore Drive, but being that it's a very linear corridor rather than a traditional downtown, it's a little more difficult. So this idea, just showing kind of some more, ideas for some of the public space. This is related to the public market. So all of you have seen some of the renderings that are actually in my office as well, but this is related to creating a large indoor-outdoor space that can be used by a number of vendors and retailers, food, other things, just thinking like Oxbow Market, Napa, or those type of spaces. And, this is, all concepts called a hangar, but just trying to work in perhaps some throwback stuff to the airport theme as part of the development. Okay, so this is kind of a wrap up here. So what's happened, at least since I've been with the city, is, this is something that's been talked about for over 30 years, and there's been very little progress. There was almost some forward progress in 2007, 2008, and the environmental review that the city did, as well as the economic climate, killed that. It never really came back. And so we decided to have more direct city involvement rather than just signing the whole thing off to some type of developer and relying on them to push it. We've been much more active in that. The city actually had the opportunity to purchase some of the properties that have been sold off over the years that are kind of around it to create a larger, more attractive overall project. So a number of those were purchased. Of course, we have the deal in place for the Fairfield Inn. We were on the cusp of having 18th Avenue constructed. And then, of course, we have the deal in place for the Adventist Health Medical Clinic. At this point, we're still working actively to bring in some anchor tenants and identify a master developer for hopefully the whole site. If not, master developer, it is a large project, so it could include multiple master developers. We're still in the process of developing the environmental impact report. Just so you know, this has been going on really for over a year. We have all of the technical studies. Most of the sections of the report are done. Really, the only thing we're waiting on is the archaeological report. And once we receive that, which I just checked in with the archaeologist again this week and expecting any day, we will be able to finish up that section and release the draft. And there's a whole process with the public hearings and whatnot. So, and then we really need to get to work on identifying some additional infrastructure funding. I mean, when we started down this road with the some of the PG settlement money that we had with the cost of things, we had probably enough money to construct pretty much all the infrastructure with this for this site, and that is no longer the case. So we're going to have to find more money. So I think there's, you know, certainly a few feasible strategies for some grants and other financing stuff that can make it happen. I mean, this is a project that a lot of people are interested in partnering with, but just because it's in Clear Lake in Lake County, there's this is a project that a lot of developers don't really expect to see here, but I think they the vision is intriguing, but we have to make it as attractive as possible. And what we're doing with the environmental impact report, and then trying to bring all the infrastructure funding in and get that done so that it's not on the developer to do most of that. It's are going to be important pieces to get the project. So I'll stop there and see if there's kind of any other questions about.
You have a site plan for Venice separately still or not?
Well, we have, I mean, there's a site plan that you will see in the environmental impact report is based on is different than this one. There's been a lot more work that's been put into that. It incorporates Adventist clinic and a possible hospital and others more specific retail. The way that entitlement and the environmental review process, the way we set this one up is that basically we're doing what's called a planned unit development. So it's not the ultimate approval won't be for a specific, say, grocery store in this location, but it's improving a range of uses to be used at the site. There's a couple different zones, and you're improving basically overall square footage that can be developed there, that type of thing. And so the benefit here is once that planned unit development is approved, environmental impact report is approved, whenever we have a proposed development, we'll just look back and make sure it's consistent with those. We have design guidelines that will be part of this and everything. We just make sure that it's consistent with the entitlements that were approved, and they don't have to go through an additional use permit process. We determine it's consistent, and they just really need to apply for their building permit. So something very attractive to.
Where's the fire department, the new firehouse?
Well, I mean, we don't have anything specifically in here right now. There have only been very preliminary conversations in the fire department about their interest in putting something up. You know, I think depending on how some of these other things work out, location for something like that could change, like depending on if there's a hospital, where the hospital might be located, that type of thing. But the flexibility for determining that again is included in what we have planned. And
So it's flexible, so if they're,
yeah,
because I know Chief has mentioned it, especially with the growing numbers and just kind of like where the stations are, like response time, like it would probably benefit the people that have stations.
yeah. I mean, I think at a conceptual level, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you know, we haven't had any conversations about, you know, are they able to staff another station, all that. So I mean, there would need to be a lot more work put into it, but the area where, so they have, there's the little building that's there now by the animal shelter that's owned by the city and has a long fairly long-term lease to the fire department. They use it just for storage of some equipment now. And, you know, maybe that's a future location, maybe somewhere else, you know, I don't really know, but, obviously, happy to keep working with them.
Yeah.
So the Adventist Health and the Fairfield Inn, do you have commitment from them to develop here?
Yeah, I mean, the property for the hotel was, city sold that.
They have like 5-year.
Um, well, yeah, there's the deferral. I mean, obviously the project has been delayed and no fault of theirs at this point, so. The developer, has a number of properties around the world, actually, whenever he's back in town, we almost always checks in with me and says that he's not doing it. So, but we do have rights if he doesn't do anything to get the property back for the amount that he paid. So,
And then like for the hangar or all the other public space, we would depend on a developer to fund those projects.
well, it's a little unclear. I think, it may be difficult to, that would be ideal.
Sure.
Right. There are a number of examples of some type of public-private partnership, for that. So, I mean, I think personally, it's an important enough thing that a developer doesn't want to do it, that we should figure out how to do it another way. And again, there are examples. We need to get some funding from CDBG to do the federal environmental review process for the infrastructure part of this, which, and so we're going to be starting that part of it as well, just because I think it's pretty likely that we'll be able to get some federal grant funds to do part of it. And we're going to include that public market component as part of that grant because, like Economic Development Administration, I think that's something they can help us on. So,
Is there a bike or walking path?
all of the things.
All of it.
Right, you're finding the
That's great.
circle.
I love that. It promotes exercise,
Sure.
you know? At a pool.
Okay. This one, I call it the mixed use project. I mean, this red is really sort of the property that the city purchased. I don't know if you can really. Cursor isn't showing up. But where it says Oak Valley Goals in the top, the old orchard where the apartments are, that was part of this when we purchased it. And then down by PG&E's yard there, that little strip where Mudslingers is, was also part of the purchase that the city made. So that project is done. Oak Valley Goals is separate. So like the environmental review and stuff that we've done, and the planning is really this red boundary, which is largely the sports complex. This far side over by Birds Valley Creek on this side, part of that is the public works yard, which has been, you know, fenced off and infrastructure. So we'll talk about that. Oh, my 10 million got larger than life there and covered that up. But so we basically have like 10 million for the sports complex part of the project right now. There's a couple other sources that may add to that a little bit. That, you know, we're always working on trying to find more money, but Congressman Thompson will over 6 million. We got California State Parks, Canoctown Unified School District gave us $1 million. Lake County Tribal Health, 150,000. Small amount, but still significant. And there's some other city funds as well.
But Advance was gonna contribute some money too.
Well, that was a former president. Since he's been gone, we haven't gotten anything online yet, but there may be some possibilities. I think, you know, we start focusing on the recreation center. That's something that was really what Adventist wanted to help support at the time. And they had tentatively said that they would commit $1 million towards that. So this is the layout. This is the conceptual design, but we have the the documents, the plans are essentially done. So we have soccer field that can be split up into smaller fields as well. That will be turf. You can see right there the one that is the recreation center, which we don't have any funding to work on that at this time. Large plaza space, the 3 bigger fields, and then the T-ball field you see over there. And then I have just, well, I'll go over this, and there's a few more images that kind of give you a flavor of what the design looks like. So some of the infrastructure, parking, this is around the Mudslinger stuff, the Olympic access completed, the housing project, of course, that's done. And then here you can kind of see some of the major amenities part of the complex. These were some concepts that were done of the recreation center itself. So you can see kind of the large multi-purpose room. And then this, if you can sort of see this site plan, this isn't locked in, this is just a concept level to kind of program out all the stuff. So so that we could actually have basketball tournaments, volleyball tournaments in that large room, other events, and then there's gym and locker room space, some other, like the purple down there is other multi-purpose rooms that could say be used for an after-school program or some classes used by the community for small events, that type of thing. I mean, the vision of this project, you know, it is quite expensive, but this was a tier of a project that doesn't exist, certainly in Lake and Mendocino counties, and some of them would be very attractive and really drive economic development for being able to have tournaments and other things that would be a draw even outside of just Louisville. Okay, so, well, these are just some old things I had, but this was during when we started construction, kind of on the first phase. You can see mudslingers there, but the construction documents for the sports complex are done. The CEQA is still held up with the Koi Nation lawsuit, which is in front of the appellate court, unfortunately. Because there's federal funding, we also have to do NEPA, which is the Federal Environmental Review. That's essentially done and ready to submit, with the exception of the tribal consultation portion of that. That's really stalled out for the same reasons. But if we can get past those hurdles, we should be able to do phase construction sometime next year. Would still be the goal. And you know, while we don't have enough money to do everything that you saw in the plans, we have enough to do enough of it to get going. And the current plan would be to like do all of the baseball fields, so that we can then utilize the old ball fields for additional development and hold off on the soccer to some more money, that type of thing.
Phases,
What's that?
in phases.
Yeah. And then of course the recreation center itself is another phase. We need to assemble more funding for that. We don't have anything beyond the conceptual design. We did apply for 17 million or so last year for that, but that was under a Biden administration program that I think the funding's been pulled back on that, so we're gonna have to find another source. There are opportunities. I mean, this source, and there's some other ones through the state as well, but looking at this as like a community resilience center is something that's needed for emergencies. And so there has been a lot of funding allocated to that. And it's not something that you just want to build a 20,000 square foot building that's only used during a wildfire or whatever. So it's the perfect type of fit for something like this. And if we keep trying, we'll figure it out eventually. So any questions on sports complex? Okay, they'll start going a little bit faster. Redbud Park, so The idea would be that once the new ball fields are constructed, these old ball fields could be flipped for some type of development here. So the idea, of course, would be keeping the parking lot, the launching ramps, the youth center area, and then this area here in red, something that will be available for development. I guess I got ahead of myself. So we have had some serious interest in this. We did have some signed papers a year or so ago. We have someone that we don't have anything active right now, but we do have someone that is wanting to get something on paper. Again, we haven't been pushing this so hard because, you know, unless there's a different direction from the council, but previously we're not interested in kicking the little beaters under. So, I mean, we could enter into an agreement contingent upon that happening and still get some of the planning and stuff going. I think there's interest in that, but right now we don't have anything active.
There must be like a guarantee that they're gonna be able to play for their season, no matter what, whether it's old field, whether.
But, you know, it'd be nice because selling this and
Yeah.
create some revenue. So,
Yeah.
closer. Okay, anything else on Redbud? Good. Okay,
Well, is there any plans, because I know we discussed this at the strategic planning about revamping Redbud?
I have some stuff on that a little bit later.
Okay.
Okay, so Lakeshore Drive, or what we consider the downtown area, you can kind of see from this map. The idea at this point is to focus really from City Hall here, and you can see we included some of the earlier concept plans. There's a roundabout at this intersection right out here, and you can kind of see the resort property across the street. And this would continue down, connecting basically to Old Highway 53 and Redbud Park on the other end. So, well, I think it happens in a little different order. I'm going to skip here quickly, but so there was actually a sidewalk design done in the 90s that was funded by the redevelopment agency for all of this area. And then there were a number of workshops with a conceptual design that was completed in 2014. Some of you probably participated in those workshops at the time. But what had never happened was sort of merging, creating construction documents based on a conceptual plan. So couple of years ago, we hired BKF engineers, and they had a group of folks to take that conceptual design that was selected by the community and turn that into construction documents. So we spent $1 million, and we have our plans 35%. So we're going to need, well, as of last count, about another 750,000 to get them all the way done. So we need to identify some more funding. We've applied for a number of funding sources. We haven't been successful yet, but that's kind of where we are. Kind of started the CEQA. We haven't been able to get our archaeological stuff done yet. And so if we get some of these other projects done, like the airport and stuff, we still plan to move forward with getting the archaeological reports done. And we'll be able to move forward with the CEQA and go ahead and get that done. The right of way work and everything is all done, but with that, we'll skip back. So if you haven't seen the concept plan stuff, we should share it. But the idea that they came up with was to kind of design the streetscape in 3 different sort of concepts. One, areas where there's more businesses along the frontage, to try to do more of a mini Main Street, kind of like this, where you don't get the full concept, but it's more concrete, providing the opportunities for a restaurant that faces Lakeshore Drive to perhaps have some tables out there, but still providing much more of a sense of place, safety than what you have now. So you can kind of see some of the concepts over there on the side. The other would be the entry corridor. So this is more focused like at this end here at the north end, and then the old Highway 53 intersection where you come in some sort of a little bit more dramatic entrance that you're kind of coming into the downtown, right? You don't get anything like that currently. And it's a little harder because we're a string of development along the lake, but with some design elements, we can create a little bit more impact there. Maybe there's an arch or a clock tower or some other type of elements to make it feel like you were. And then because we do have several parks, really this would kind of be attached to all three of our existing parks along Lake Shore, is that there'd be more green space in in the sort of park promenades, which are focused on, the parks are kind of an opportunity to open up shits to the lake as much as possible, making sure that we're protecting that, because that's visual at least. Okay. Any thoughts or questions on that? The last at 35%, the cost estimate to do all of it was 17. But if we get 10 million, we can start here and go as far as our 10 million gets us, and get some more money.
Have we thought about passing a measure?
It's possible.
Because this school district just passed another one. So I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know. I think it will help us get us that extra feeling that we need just to.
Yeah.
Get
I
us
mean,
there.
our real focus on all these has just been trying to find grants, but if the council's interested in looking at that stuff, it is definitely a potential way to.
Well, I know people want this and if they're willing to, they want it, then I'm sure they might. I know it's up to have to pay more tax. At the same time, like
Well, there could be other ways.
this would really help property owners and
There might be improvement. This.
Yep.
Could be. Yeah. It's basically the landowners. Pay more.
yeah,
That front. Budget.
It's not going to develop into what it could be unless we put the infrastructure. It's just not going to.
I mean. The people will speak them based off the measure. I mean, they vote for it, so I mean, it wouldn't hurt to try.
Well, it's like. The recreation money.
That's different.
Yeah, it's similar. So you still have to have some kind of tax measure.
Yeah.
I recommend going off on discussing.
Oh,
None of this.
okay,
The only thing on the agenda is a project update, so.
got it, okay. Thank you.
Okay, Austin Resort, this is the property across the street. It's about 7.5 to 8 acres there. These are some of the old concepts that were done a number of years ago, but what we've asked is someone to develop this hotel resort with retail restaurants and maintain public access along the lakefront, and hopefully reestablishment of a small marina as part of that as well. The area out there used to be one. Sort of the area is still there, but all their infrastructures is gone. So we do have a current exclusive negotiating agreement with a development firm that's actively working on the site plan. Putting on areas. Any questions? Okay,
Wasn't there at one point in time, pier going out there?
Yeah, that last developer that was in was one to put a pier along the north edge of.
Yeah, so like a fishing pier kind of thing.
And it would, I think the idea was that our pipe going out in the lake would go beside or underneath it. Okay, as I recall.
it'd be a nice amenity to have, maybe something that comes as part of large developers.
And we also had a promenade
Right.
along the lakes with walks.
And I think at one point, it was meant to have a little research place for O.C. Davis in there too.
I think there's been lots of ideas. This is the, little over 30-acre parcel that was supposed to be, additional phases of the initial Walmart developments. It's roughly outlined in red there. So this is something that the city purchased, beginning of last year. That was a tax default. Again, we have a current exclusive negotiating agreement with the development firm that's working on the site planning, but this concept is focused on the majority of the site being used as a big box retail center. There are some more rugged areas up on the north end near Woodland College. That's Woodland College's parking lot up there. It's quite rocky. May not be as feasible for development. Obviously, we'd like to have the revenue and the amenities from retail, so that's really the priority. But if there's some stuff that isn't accessible, I think it could easily be converted into perhaps a BMX park or some hiking trail.
Over the weekend, I saw a cute little pump track, like kids with the striders. It's like real small. That's what he said.
There's plenty of rocks out
Well, yeah.
It don't have to be smooth. But they don't pedal.
Well,
It's pump.
there. Well, hopefully the skate park rework will be available to them too. We'll be talking about that. Okay, any questions on this one? Housing, this is Oak Valley Villas, so we've done quite a bit there. So the projects that are in some sort of the queue right now, of course, 18th Avenue, which is what's going to be called Valley Vista, is up by the hospital. That's another 80-unit project that's on state-owned land. We've been working with them for a while to get complete. They are pushing to have all their funding and stuff close early December and start construction soon after that as possible. Weather. And then, of course, what we really need, as we know, is market rate housing, which is much more difficult to develop. We have the Old Highway 53 subdivision up by the Egg Ranch. It's 22 lots that are at least an acre and a quarter. The developer on that is ready to go. The only thing that's holding up right now is dealing with water supply, and there's been some hiccups with Highlands Water that we still don't have a resolution to my knowledge on that. So it's being held up there now. 36th Avenue, the same developer also purchased those lots. They used to be city owned. There's 20 of them there. Well, there 2 of them were sold and houses built, but these would be standard, pretty much 50 by 100 lots with sort of mid-range homes, probably 320 to 350, but those are also needed. We've had a number of hiccups with special districts on this project. This is something that the city is going to be building the road there. It's just dirt right now. So we have the plans done and ready to go out to bid on that if we can address some of the issues with the sewer system. I also want to mention the homestead program, which was kind of a different take. The city tried a number of years ago to provide free lots or purchase lots for people who were going to build a new home in the city and pay all of their water sewer connection fees, building permit fees, school fees, fire fees, all of that stuff in order to provide some incentive, which total up to $40,000 to $50,000. We had a lot of initial applications that were approved. This was right before interest rates started skyrocketing, and most of those people could no longer afford to move forward with it. We had a couple people that hung in there. I think the last one, which I mentioned this in my city manager's report before, has been trying to get something worked out in special districts for well, pretty much a year and finally threw up her hands and gave up. And so now the city's gonna have to take that property back. And then the city took action, I guess, about a year ago with the county and Lakeport to develop a regional housing trust fund. There's some additional state funding that can come to us with that. We've been having meetings. We had one this week to get the organization this together. We're going to be recruiting for some additional members to serve on that trust fund. The idea, really the focus that we're planning to take at this point is not trying to encourage larger affordable projects, but to focus on rehab programs and infill projects. I think that's well suited for what we have here in the city, and it's similar for Lakeport. Questions on the housing projects? Roads. I think you wanted me to talk about Clear Lake Park.
No.
Okay, good.
Guys, you said, I can start with Clear Lake Park or Dam Road Roundabout. So that is an overlay of the Dam Road Roundabout project. We've just received the 65% PSNE package. That we're in the middle of reviewing right now. We're in contract with BKF once designing it. And we're on track to have the final plans and everything done at the beginning of the year and go out to bid next year. Hopefully also build it. We do have, I think it's 5.5 million in construction funding. So we have the funds to do it. Gonna be trapped maybe for a minute, but it'll be worth it in the end. Clear Lake Park, I attended a pre-con meeting with Golden State Water yesterday to start the water line project on.
Remind everyone, this is a project we did last year that we haven't been able to finish because of Golden State.
The project about, I say we have done. There are areas where there are very shallow water. Our treatment on, which is 11 inches. Water lines, literally this far on the road. I put my fingers up to it. It's literally that much. So like
Hopefully not too full.
they're decent.
And
Well, doesn't
what-
sound-
this is
That
a-
doesn't sound very good to me. They're all.
Is there a fix to that?
Bunch of red vibrator on it, it's gonna crack.
Yeah.
It's just they did design and they just put it up as bid. So we've been waiting on it.
Yeah, so they're Cherno got the contract and they're gonna be starting on Monday with and and hopefully, depending on weather, I don't know what this winter is gonna do. Last winter we were really lucky. This winter, I don't know, I've heard some things. We'll get Wayman back up there.
There are a number of cost increases because of the delays with our contractor.
Motivation.
We are
Subcontract.
passing all of those additional costs. See,
What's the process like to force them?
well, should be pretty easy with them. I mean, we've told them that that's what we expect. They understand that. We have a franchise agreement with them that says that if their stuff is in our way, they have to move it. So,
So Burns Valley Olympic Arrowhead was previously out the bid and we pulled it because of some issues with HUD and the funding and support. I believe that is all resolved now. I think we can have everything ready.
So ready to go back. When do you want, think you'll be getting it again? So we're not gonna do it this fall.
well, I mean, we're always, you know,
But I just,
I mean, currently the deadline to use the funding is February next year, but we've asked for an extension unless you guys heard that we got it approved.
Yeah, we need to finish construction by May
I
next year in order to close out by August.
So
Yes.
This is obviously,
How many workdays are in?
we don't have a lot of time. This is over $6 million, so.
I don't expect it to take too long.
I put 60.
It's grind and pave. It's not gonna be
60
any under that.
workers. It's grind and pave. It should go really fast. It's gonna take longer to adjust the utilities than it is to pave.
All 3 roads would be right in phase.
Yes.
We weren't able to, because of environmental review challenges, specifically the tribal, we just weren't able to do some of the improvements that we'd like to have done. So it's all current. We just don't have time to go through it, otherwise we they're not giving us a much.
We separated out the drainage portion of it as a separate contract, which is
That's-
just awarded.
Well, we're considering.
Yeah, I got that on my list. So that large, there's a large puddle, running lake.
Yeah.
Here. Just award it. Hopefully you guys are going to award. The project. You need, contractor, which is within our budget, to alleviate one. That was originally part of the paving project, but we have to take.
Federal funding requirement would have delayed the whole thing, so we found the money with local funds. We don't have to take federal government review.
Next, so Moss 40th is out to bid currently. It opens on 9/11, and then we're planning to bring it before to City Council on the 18th and complete it this year. That will be a really quick project. It's also free treatment. Also gonna be a traffic nightmare for a minute, but not as bad as a roundabout would be.
That's funded partly by the county, right?
Yes, they have a 77% reimbursement, 78, 77, yep. I think our funds were using gas tax. About that. Village area, so we started design on the village area, which is Ridgeview Drive, Lakeview Way, Lakeside Drive, Pineview Drive, Pineview Court, and Bay Street. That was kind of, we found a low hanging fruit because there's no need to do any concrete or drainage improvements in the area. That would be a strictly easy 2-inch grind and pave. We have 65% PSE rate, plans specs estimate right now, and we don't have enough local funds at the moment to fund it, but we will put it on the shelf. We're ready, enough funds to do it, but we'll really one. We also have the Rumsey Turner project, which is Rumsey Road, Turner Avenue, Washington, Clarkson, Emerson, Jackson, Harrison, and Green. Everything north of Turner Avenue is actually private roads, so there was southern portions that we had. And then like Lilac, Brown, and some others. Those are private as well. We have a survey for that project, but we don't have that art report. And we also need.
That was-
The idea of asking this before.
So again, we were hoping to do this project this year, but we've had to prioritize the archaeological stuff now. It takes an enormous amount of time. We're prioritizing the airport and then like other things like Burns Valley Airmen where we're gonna lose the money, So we have gotten that started, but of course it's not gonna happen this year. Anything else or any questions for Tristan or Audie? Okay, we have a few minutes apart, so Austin Skate Park. This is the current design that we have. So the skate park that's there is very worn. I think it was the first one in the county. It's basically made of laminated plywood.
It was worse before.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this would be all concrete. We have a lot of security issues there and stuff, and we have to close it down a lot of times because stuff gets torn up. So the idea is bringing something indestructible. Um, this is something the Supervisor Spatier has really wanted to see happen, and so some of the cannabis funds that the board members get to set aside, he's been setting aside all of his funds ever since they started that program for this project, and I think has 600,000. With this design, we put it out to bid, and it's actually around 850,000 to do this, which seems crazy. It's not that big, but so we met with supervisor and said, what do you think? We can sort of dial the plan back and get what we get for 600,000, or staff found a grant that could supplement that and basically double our money. And so, he is really passionate about this, wants to do it right. And so we decided to hold off. We applied for, what was the final number? A little over $1 million.
With our match, it'll be, we asked for 600 grand.
So we would actually be in the position we might be able to add a few things in if we get that. So,
When do we find out about the?
timing on
It
that
was 6 months from August, well, we still have a little bit away.
next year. So,
Yeah, we for the smaller kids, because everybody rides those Stay6 and the Striders.
okay, so I'll try to go quick here. We're almost there, but we've had to close the main pier at Redbud because of some safety issues. So had a little bit of a trouble finding someone to tell us what we need to do to address that, but that's actively being worked on to get that repaired and back open. Other things at Redbud, we have some funding that we are initiating design, which would be renovating the bathrooms, providing upgraded lighting and security in the park, security cameras and stuff. We actually have a little bit more money than we thought, so we might be able to add some other things in, like there's been some ideas of putting playground equipment back over there, and so we'll be looking at that. It's probably a little dangerous to say this is present company, but Austin Park, we are trying to find some funding. I think we might be able to use the same source to put some ADA bathrooms over by the dog park. Thanks much. Any other questions on the park side? Oh, like the Redbud Thompson Harbor. So Patty is also, or Director Leyva is also actively working on a couple of funding sources to do some improvements to the docks and extending the boat ramps and some other amenities as part of the harbor itself.
What about restrooms?
Well, that's in the other funding. So,
It is,
yeah,
because I didn't see
The-
restrooms over there.
renovating.
ADA.
Yes, sir. Okay, just a couple other quick projects. We have the public works yard that we've put the infrastructure and stuff in. Our staff are over there. We have basically an office trailer. We started design on a shop, but we are trying to find funding to get that built. I don't have anything. This is not our project, but this site plan shows the transit center that'll be over in front of Woodland Community College and City and Middle School that the area planning council is working on. It's been frustratingly slow, but I'm told they may be very close to getting that out to bid. And then a couple other quick things. Caltrans, because of safety issues on Highway 53, has supposedly identified some funding to do lighting improvements along that corridor. You can come in and make it. And then also more recently, they let us know that they are going to be applying for funding to do roundabouts at the 18th Avenue intersection and the Lake Shore Quarry.
Back to back.
Me, I'm definitely stupid.
Yeah, it could be a number of years off, but it is a project with Caltrans. You're up against safety issues, and that's one of the best ways, as far as they look at it, to slow traffic down. It's safer for pedestrians and stuff. I mean, we have asked them to look fencing between those two intersections because a lot of the fatalities that we've had aren't actually at the intersections, it's people at the fence and they take a shortcut between the two. So,
Okay.
all right.
Are you done? Recess the workshop. Reconvene.
Dirk, you went on a little roller coaster ride there for a minute. Simon, too.
Tonight's city council meeting. I'd like to call this regular meeting to order at 6:04 PM on September 4th, 2025. Again, and we have a roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Wilson,
Present.
Councilmember Hooton,
Here.
Councilmember Downey,
Here.
Vice Mayor Slotin,
Here.
and Mayor Kramer.
Here. All righty. Now, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Vice Mayor Slotin, would you please lead it? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all. You could all remain standing, please. Pastor Grayson will do our invocation.
There we go. I was just about to use my preaching voice if it doesn't work, but let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you and with grateful hearts, Father. We thank you for the cooler, supposedly, weather that we've been having this summer and the less favorable conditions for the fires. We thank you and we praise you for the fires that we have had, that you've kept our first responders safe, but also, Father, that they were swift in their actions and took care of them quickly. We thank you for your hand in that. We ask your continued protection on them, Father, and as the weather changes and as things get a little bit more difficult, Lord, we just ask your hand of protection over the first responders, the city, and all of our outlying communities, Lord. We know that you are powerful and you are great, and that you love your children. Father, we ask you to bless this city council meeting right now. We thank you for those in front of us, Father, that are willing to serve the public in this way. We ask your wisdom and your insight as they're making decisions and as they're coming together, Lord. Let them give them a sense of like-mindedness and what is best for the community. We ask these in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. You may be seated. Okay, just to go over our meeting procedures. All items on the agenda will be open for public comments before final action is taken. Citizens wishing to introduce written material into the record at the public meeting on any item are requested to provide a copy of the written material to the Administrative Services Director, City Clerk, sitting right over here, prior to the meeting date, so that the material may be distributed to the City Council prior to the meeting. Speakers must restrict comments to the item as it appears on the agenda and stay within a 3-minute time limit. I have the discretion of limiting the total discussion time for any item. If you're on the Zoom meeting, please note that only written comments will be taken via Zoom using the Q&A chat feature. Please enter your comment on the Q&A chat feature. All right, we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. City Manager Flora, are there any modifications to the agenda?
No modifications, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I will take a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
I second it.
Motion's been made by Vice Mayor Slotin and seconded by Council Member Wilson. Please vote in your portal.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. All right, we'll now move on to presentations. A presentation for proclamation declaring September 2025 as Senior Center Month. Is there someone in the audience that's going to be presented? I'll meet you at the podium. I actually knew the answer to
Yeah,
that
I was gonna
question
say, you
before
see
I.
me there.
Anyway. Senior Center Month, September 2025. Whereas older Americans are significant members of our society, investing their wisdom and experience to help enrich and better the lives of younger Americans. And whereas the Highlands Senior Service Center has acted as a catalyst for mobilizing the creativity, energy, vitality, and commitment of the older residents of Clear Lake and Lake County, that would include me. And whereas through the wide array of services, programs, and activities, the Highlands Senior Service Center empowers older adults to contribute to their own health and well-being of their fellow citizens of all ages. And whereas the Highlands Senior Service Center affirms the dignity, self-worth, and independence of older persons by facilitating their decisions and actions, tapping their experiences, skills, and knowledge, and enabling their continuing contributions to the community. And now therefore be it proclaimed that Clear Lake City Council does hereby call upon all the citizens to recognize the special contributions of the Highlands Senior Service Center participants and the special efforts of the staff and volunteers who work every day to enhance the well-being of the older adults in our community. Dated this 4th day of September 2025 and signed by me as mayor.
Did you sign it?
I did sign it right there.
Can I say something?
You may.
Yeah. Thank you, council members, for this proclamation. I appreciate it. We are doing a lot, working on a lot of things at our center. Hopefully at the beginning of January, I'll be able to come and do a nice presentation to you for all the different things that we plan on adding. We have applied for a grant for partnership of California. And with that, we hope that we will be able to serve more meals than what we are now. We average about 3,700 meals in our Meals on Wheels alone every month. So, and we are serving approximately on the average 60 seniors in our community center. So sometimes we've had as much as 108, in our center, which is a lot for our community. So history of Clear Lake Highland of our organization is we've been doing this since before Meals on Wheels. And I just found some history on our center about how we actually were the only center that serviced all of Lake County in the 70s. So they were serving, even at that time, 65,000 meals a year in our county. And I found a whole lot of arguments where with the city and the other organizations, we used to have 3 senior community centers, not centers per se, but organizations. And I was kind of surprised to see the history of how long that our center has been doing it. So before Meals on Wheels even existed, we were serving Meals on Wheels. But when it came apart, it kind of helped us get some grant money. But just to let you know, the grant money doesn't cover everything. So each meal that we try to get is $5 from our seniors. Our average for our Meals on Wheels is down to about 9 cents a meal. So we're already short before we even get started. So just to let people know that we already anticipate that we're about 120,000 short on our basic food program. So every $5 helps purchase a meal. So anybody can go online at the Clear Lake website and there's a donation there. For most people's paychecks, we can serve a senior for the whole year. It's $1,850 for us to serve a senior for the whole year. So I want everybody to kind of think about that, but $5 on that donation thing, even every month, if you donate $5, think about it. That's 12 meals for somebody. Would that hurt anybody in our community? Even if you're very low income, you can normally afford $5. So we appreciate any donations that we can get. And thank you guys for the proclamation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joyce. Okay, we'll now move on to public comment. Public comment is a time for any member of the public to address the city council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. Council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note the comments from the public will also be taken on each agenda item. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in the chamber? Come on up, Mrs. Garcia. You still have to introduce yourself, though.
Hi, Margaret Garcia, City of Clear Lake. I just wanted to, I guess, bring up now that the seasons are changing, it's going to be raining soon. And I know that there was various areas in the city that were discussed recently by someone who was here, special guest. But I'm curious as to if we could get an update on those areas, and where my street is, he commented, he called it Lake Yule, and that's what it's going to turn into again come October when it starts pouring, Lake Yule. And it has a lot to do with the new drains that were put in recently that do not work. And so I'm still wondering if that's going to be looked at. They're going to look at the quality of work that was done for the city, and the fact that my street has 3 drains that do not work, that are new, brand new. So I'd like to just bring that to the kind of give, a little bit of reminder about it. And that I'm hoping maybe something, is proactively being done. So Yule Avenue, check out the work that's been paid for by the city of Clear Lake, I'm sure. So I appreciate any time that you could put to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Garcia. Come on up, Mrs. Humble.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Hummel. I'm from Clear Lake, and like I said before, I'm still learning. So I just wanted to find out, like, on the consent agenda, I'm not going to get into any of it. I'm just asking a question. If there's a item that I want to talk about or find out about, am I supposed to go to the website? And I don't know if like if something's been put there, how would we eventually or find out what the outcome was? And what my really concern is it's number 7, it's the redistricting. I think it's of the fire, and I just, it affects all of us. So I just was wondering about that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hummel.
Well, if I could try to address some of the questions. So, well, the consent agenda is the next item on the agenda. So when the mayor asks if there's any public comment on any of those items, you're welcome to come back up and make your comments about that specific one. And then it would be up to the council whether you wanted to actually pull it off for separate consideration or not.
All right. Thank you for that explanation. Are there any other public comments in the chamber? Nope. Are there any on Zoom?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the council requests otherwise, or if staff has requested a change under adoption of the agenda, in which case the item will be removed for separate consideration. Any item so removed will be taken up following the motion to approve the consent agenda. Okay, is there anyone in the public that would like to make a comment on the consent agenda?
So I'm still Stephanie. So my question would be, concerning the redistricting, it's for the fire, right? Fire, okay. Let me read it to be correct. So election and its impact on.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So this doesn't have anything to do with fire. This is the state's plan to redistrict the congressional districts in the state.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And this is just an informational item that the city clerk put together. But if you go on the website, you can look at that. You can look at the maps. There's a link there. This is something that was approved by the legislature and will be on the ballot on a special election in November to be approved or not by the California voters.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Ms. Garcia?
Well, Margaret Garcia, on this redistricting, that is a congressional redistricting. I'd like to hear the impact it will have on Clear Lake, and maybe that can be discussed. Item 7. I'd like to hear the impact that the redistricting would have on our city.
Thank you. Any other comments? None on Zoom?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
All right. So, council, do you have any items that you want to pull? No?
Not pull, but I mean, if the city manager would like to give a short discussion on number 7.
Okay. So we'll do that. Okay, we'll approve the rest of the consent agenda and then go to that.
He's saying that I could give a short summary without.
Right
pulling
now?
it, but
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
Just a report. Well, I would encourage, I mean, the idea of kind of adding this is to provide awareness to the council on a few different things, I mean, and the community. So there is going to be a special election in November. The state is saying that the cost of that election will be borne or, by the state. They will reimburse counties. I don't think the counties are going to be looking to the cities to pay because it's a statewide thing. But the real impact here is there would be a change for congressional representation in Lake County, a number of other areas. So there are links in the staff report that you can look at the actual maps and see, but generally speaking, all of Lake County is currently represented by Congressman Mike Thompson. Most of Lake County, including Clear Lake, would no longer be represented by Congressman Mike Thompson if this is approved. There would be a portion of Hidden Valley and Middletown that would still be in Congressman Thompson's district. The rest of Lake County would be included in what is currently Congressman LaMalfa's district from Chico. And beyond that, I would just encourage you to look at the maps and be aware of the proposed changes, and then, of course, be educated when you vote in November.
All right. So I will take a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made by Vice Mayor Slotin and seconded by Council Member Hooton. Vote in your portal, please.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, we'll now move on to item 8, public hearing for discussion and consideration of ordinance number 279-2025, an amendment to section 9-4 of the Clear Lake Municipal Code regarding residential rental registration and inspection. City Manager Flora, would you like to see the staff?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Associate Planner Taylor is going to give the initial staff report.
Thank you, council members. And I'd also like to thank those in the public, particularly the realtors who put a lot of input into this, and we took it to heart and added that to what is now the current proposed rental housing registration and inspection proposed updates. So just a little bit of background on it. And as most of you may already know, this was originally adopted in 2001 as ordinance No. 102-01. And then in 2008, it went silent for a while, and that we don't particularly know why, but it probably was because of the recession and the housing market bubble that bust. And then back in August of 2019, council directed staff to revisit the ordinance and recommended some updates and see what could be done to bring it to current legislation standards. And 2020, city received proposal from outside contractor to provide rental registration and inspection services, but I believe that did not come to fruition. In 2020, July of 2020, council directed staff to begin implementation of the residential rental registration and inspection program, which facilitated the hiring of chief building inspector and a community development specialist. Our current chief building inspector is Mary Jane Montana, and she will be looking at further down the presentation, presenting some inspection checklists that we have developed in-house or with staff, and also some imagery of some current housing situations which need some attention. So revisiting the ordinance, which is now ordinance No. 279-225, which is before you. There was an initial presentation on March 20th, 25, and the Lake County Association of Realtors Task Force requested that they provide some input. They did have some concerns on some of the proposals, so the city council granted that request, and staff did meet with the Realtor Task Force on a couple of occasions, and then on May 22, 2025. Realtor staff will revise the ordinance language, which was updated in response to their comments. June 5th, we had another hearing to redo the first reading. Again, based on the feedback from the public, council decided to continue the item to give further credence to the public, or specifically realtors, to provide their comments and have staff meet with them 1 or 2 times there. And then here we are today, September 4th. We're now back in hearing, and we're proposing all the updates that we've done and worked with the realtors. And I think we've come to some kind of a consensus, I believe, and hopefully we'll get this passed today and move forward.
Okay, thank you.
So just a quick summary of proposed updates, inspection and enforcement authority. So essentially what happened here is that code department was tasked with, doing the inspections and issuing violations and code violations. So this has shifted to the building department. Some of the reasons why that shift would made some sense logically is because code enforcement, they may be stretched in handling, this type of task because primarily they're focused on nuisance abatement, zoning violations and operative vehicles, those sorts of things. And centralizing, so we're trying to centralize the responsibility of the inspections with the building department, since they do building permits and do building inspections and that sort of thing. Update code references, that's essentially pretty straightforward. We want to make sure that align with current state and fire, building, and housing laws. That's pretty self-explanatory there. We wanted to clarify the procedures for registration, inspection, inspections and re-inspections. And then some new provisions were added, which included phased inspections, self-certification options for property owners and managers, property managers, and then tenant landlord responsibilities, kind of outlining what it kind of goes both ways. So tenants and landlords who have some responsibilities in keeping the rentals and minimum, at least minimum health and safety standards, living conditions, and then ownership change requirements. Let's see. So inspection checklist. At this time, I'm gonna turn it over to Mary Jane Montana, who's gonna go over some of the draft inspection checklists that the staff has developed, and then some imagery of properties that may need some attention to. So.
That I had the opportunity to go out and do an inspection, and I used the new form, which I will give you all a hard copy of, and we've got a few extra for anybody that wants one. And it was a 2-story single-family dwelling and a garage that had been converted into 3 units. I don't know when the conversion happened, but it's been that way for a while. So I went through the inspection checklist as if this would have been a requested inspection. Use this as a guideline.
If I could just briefly interrupt for the council's benefit, this was a tenant that called the building department because of concerns with the housing that they were renting and asked for the building department to come and take a look.
Right, so it seemed like a good opportunity to kind of test this out. And probably will be making a few changes in the checklist a little bit, but it gives you an idea of what it would look like and how we're going to propose it to the owner, the manager, if there is one, as well as the tenant, so that they have proof that we went out, when we went out, and what the required inspections were. One of the things that I like to do is give the owner or operator the opportunity to make corrections. However, sometimes that's not always possible, but we don't like to red tag a building because then the tenants have to move out, and we've just created 3 homeless families. So not something that we want to do. So this is just kind of a informational for you to take a look at. Mike, if you want to pull up the pictures, I don't have, Alan's got it. Okay, this is what we found there. That was an outlet that was taken out and changed out. There's another picture that I have, but I don't think it got in here, of a piece of metal that was stuck in that. This is a 2-pane window that the interior pane was broken, but it wasn't cleaned up very well, and those shards of glass still remain there. And that, it kind of looks kind of strange. It's not an UFO or anything like that. That's the bathroom ceiling, which indicates it's either leaking above in the piping, or that there's excessive moisture in the bathroom because it doesn't have adequate ventilation. So that'll have to be taken apart and taken a better look at. That creates black mold, and so that creates an issue for habitability. there were other issues. There wasn't garbage receptacles that were adequate for the tenants. The deck and the stairway were, in need of repair, replacement, need to be taken down. Because the two-story one goes up above what was the single-family dwelling, so it's exterior and it wasn't rated for exterior. Those are just a few things, and what I request is that the owner, operator, meet me on site so that I can go over the corrections needed, and then that they make that appointment within a very short time, and then that they take out a building permit to make the repairs if necessary. So that's kind of how we had a little bit of a field trial on how this might work, and it seems to work pretty good. We'll keep working it out as we go.
So that's the brief overview, council. I don't know, the last meeting we had with the Realtors Task Force, Vice Mayor Slotin and Councilmember Putin participated in, so I don't know if they want to take the opportunity to provide any updates, but of course, staff are here to address any questions you may have about the specifics of the recommended change.
Okay, well, let me just start with, are there any questions from council of staff? Now I'll go to you.
Oh, I did have a question. So the list that you sent out, there's only a couple things checked off, so this isn't completely like filled in from.
Those things that are checked off.
Excuse me, the ones that are checked are the ones that are found to be in compliance.
Okay, so that's gonna be in compliance?
Yeah, that are in compliance. The rest of them, check box only if inspection complete and found to be in compliance. So if they don't have a check, then they're not in compliance.
Wow.
So all of these items, except for the two, well, three with the swimming pool, are not in compliance?
That's correct. Some to a greater degree than others, and that's why I like to meet the property manager or the owner on site, so we can go over in detail what they're gonna need to do with a repair permit.
Wow. How long does it take to do that inspection?
This one took about an hour, hour and a half. And some folks weren't home, so I wasn't able to get into the other rental units at the time. And so if I inspected all three, it would probably take an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay, and I know you said phased inspections. How are you gonna choose what inspections you do for the order of them?
I'll address that one.
Okay.
So, I mean, our current plan, if the ordinance is passed and implemented, we have a software tool that we can identify properties. Well, of course, we know from our code enforcement activities and other things that there's a number of problem property owners that have persistent problems across their properties. So we'll be doing analysis of folks that have a significant number of properties, and we can cross-reference properties that have a certain number of code enforcement violations existing or police activity. And so our plan is to prioritize those ones that we know are problem properties first and then go down from there.
Any feel for how many of these you can do in a month, a year, whatever?
Well, it's going to depend on a lot of things, but that's where you're getting the 3-year thing that we talked about before, is we're estimating that with the number, we can probably do about a third of them in a year.
Okay. Are there any other questions? All right. Jessica, did you want to comment on your meeting?
I think that the meeting overall went well. The Lake County Association of Realtors and the representative sat with myself and Mark and Dirk and Alan, and we went back and forth through the table, and we were able to talk about each and every item that they had a problem with, and with explanation and reasoning. It's when we left, it felt that everybody understood why we were doing what we were doing on each item. I had a good feeling leaving, so I think it was productive and I think we're on the right track.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember. Are there any other questions?
I concur with Councilwoman, that I felt after the several meetings that we hashed out a lot of the issues. So I think I left with the idea that we compromised on different items, then I feel confident that it will be a workable situation.
Okay, we'll find out here. Did you have a comment? No. Okay, well, time for public comment now, so I'll now open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the chambers who wishes to comment on this item?
I'm Timothy Toy. I'm a real estate broker in Lake County, and we manage close to around 200 properties in the county, many of them in Clear Lake. Spoken to this before. I've personally been doing property management for over 40 years, and it's not easy. There's lots of pitfalls, and I've had some involvement with the Realtor Task Force, and I think that it's been a good interaction, and I think the ordinance is improved. However, I think the city may be setting themselves up for lots of pitfalls, because there's lots of pitfalls in property management, and you're about to get into the property management business. However else you might describe it. Bruno Sabatier and others have suggested a trial program. The example we had there sound like a really good idea to do that and to do more of that rather than to leap into it, which I suggest is what you're considering doing. I think there's unintended consequences coming that you're not aware of, having done so much property management over my time. Here are some of them. Increased cost of being a landlord in Clear Lake, landlords exiting the Clear Lake rental business, a reduction in the rental supply, increased rents to cover the cost of the ordinance, tenants displaced by city mandated repairs, less desire by tenants to rent in the city, a breakdown in trust between the city and the citizens, increased homelessness, potential legal action against the city for violation of privacy, and increased negative reputation of the city. Now, admittedly, there will be some improved supply, and that's good. But I would recommend, given the likely impact on the citizens of the city, that one of the council members recommend a trial program and put it up for a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toy. Are there any other comments?
One, I want to thank you for bringing this back up, because this was an ordinance that, I've helped put forward a long time ago, and we had to suspend it because of the situation with the city's finances. I've lived in other areas, and I purchased houses back in Illinois. They have inspections on rentals every month or every year. If you change renters, they have to have it inspected before they can rent it. If they decide to sell that renter, you have to have it inspected before you can put it on the market. And when they sit there saying this is going to be a cost, it's a cost of business. And they already get enough rent here in Clear Lake. I mean, they've tripled their rent here just because of the fires. So they're already, making money off of this stuff. I think this is very important. I got apartment complexes right across the street from the senior center that I have a group meeting at my senior center twice a month because of the conditions of their apartments. So yes, I firmly believe that this needs to be put in place. I believe we need to step up right away. I don't believe it needs to be a trial. We've had it here before. We need to step it up, and we need to fix these places. We don't want people living in houses that are unsafe. And yes, I mean, some houses you may have to evict somebody out of because they're so unsafe, and that's not against their constitutional rights or anything. That's for their own safety. Do we want people living in a house that might burn down and kill them while they're sleeping? I don't. You know, so I think this is something that we really need to step up and get it going again. You know, we already had the trial period before. All you have to do is talk to past people that have done it, you know, but I really seriously say we need to get up. And one of the things I'd like to say is these older apartment complexes, I think we need to be on them because they do house a lot of people and they're not, I don't believe, up to code at all. So I think that's where personally I would want to start. That's up to you guys, but that's just my opinion that we need to start with those. And I think every house that's a rental house should be inspected. I don't think I remember that we talked about 5 or 6 before they fell into that category. I think every house that's a rental house should be inspected before they can even rent it out. And if they're rented now, that's fine, inspect them. But when they become empty, they should always have to be inspected. That's just protocol for most places that have these inspection laws, and they're everywhere. It's not like we're creating something new. This is something that's all over the United States. It's for the safety of our community. And I think that's what we're after, especially when we are in a fire zone. I see something like that socket there that could start a fire and burn down not only one unit, but could burn down a lot of units. That's a safety issue for our city. So I say step it up and get it going. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Overton. Anyone else? Nope. I'll get you next, Katie.
Mr. Mayor, members of the city council, Rick Mayo, 46-year resident of the community. I served on the planning commission, so I do understand about these types of ordinances. Joyce stole my thunder. She took everything, almost completely wiped out my whole speech, except for, and I'm gonna be very brief and more brief than you can imagine. I know that's something that most people here don't. Yeah. Anyway, the people who suffer the most in dilapidated housing and unsafe housing is the poor, the immigrant, the seniors, and the disabled. They're the victims because for many times they don't have the right credit score in order to get in the type of housing that is livable, and then they have to rent from what is well known as slum landlords. And you know, I've lived in some housing like that here in this community. And I've had to take landlords into court because the bathrooms are not wide enough for me to get a wheelchair in. I can't get a chair even up to the entrance of the door. That's shameful. And under ADA, you understand, there's a lot of unsafe housing in this community. In the apartment complex that I live in now, and I'm gonna be real brief, sir, I had to bring a congressman in to force them to put in an ADA shower because I couldn't take a bath for 8 months after I moved in there. It was beyond my understanding how they could even get an occupancy without having to comply with ADA. But nevertheless, you understand, we have to do something about the poor housing in this community and not and making the citizens of this community pay for these unscrupulous landlords, you understand, that have no conscience, you understand, because of the amount of rents that they charge, and the people can't do any better. We have to do better here. And I agree with Joyce. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayo. You stayed within your 3 minutes. Got it down. Mrs. Evans, come up.
Hi, my name is Katie Evans. I'm a real estate broker and owner of Evans Realty. My husband and I manage several homes around Lake County and in Clear Lake, and we have a rental home of our own. First, I want to thank the city for working with the Board of Realtors. I think that was a very positive process, and I appreciate the input that we were able to give. I do want it noted that I do not support this, and I have not supported it going forward. And these are my concerns and they remain. Tenants will be most impacted. And have we sought any input from tenants to see how they respond to this? And I also feel that tenant rental property has been singled out. They're not the only citizens in the county or in the city. And single owner occupied homes also are a concern. There's already code enforcement in place to address any problems with housing. I don't see why another department needs to be implemented for that. As far as the committee process, we were promised, the Board of Realtors was promised to see a copy of the proposal tonight so we could compare what had been updated. We did not see that until the documents were released for public. And another concern that we had, and my husband and I particularly, is in our last meeting, we asked Mr. Flora if public comment was considered, and particularly negative public comment, and he told us it was not. So that's, I think, something that does need to be considered. Lastly, I think we finally narrowed down last time that there's about 3,000 units, at $108 a piece, plus 1,000 units rented inspected per year. That generates about $462,000 for the city. I think the only people that are really, or the only entity that's poised to gain from this is the city of Clear Lake by getting more money and more data. I think there's other ways that could be accomplished. I, like Mr. Toy, I encourage a pilot program to be implemented to work out all the bugs. I think Mary's inspection last week, that's a great place to start. So we can come back and look at it more closely. And then to address Mrs. Overton's view that every city has this in place. There's only a small handful of cities and counties in California that have that. So not everybody is doing this. So I don't think that is necessarily that we need to jump on the same bandwagon and assume that this is happening throughout the state, because it's not. Small handful of places. And in fact, in Salinas, it was voted down by the citizens. So it was not embraced when put to public vote. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate the ability to comment.
Thank you, Mrs. Evans. Are there any comments, other comments from the public? Mrs. Garcia?
Margaret Garcia, City of Clear Lake. I had a question for the inspector. As far as the example that you spoke about, there was 3 units that you were ideally there to inspect. Is that right?
But you need to, wait,
Oh.
you need to, we've been through this a number of times, Ms. Garcia. You need to address your questions to the council. And if they would like to have them addressed, they will ask staff to do so. This is your 3 minutes to make comments or ask questions.
Just to the council, not of the
Yes,
person who
just to the
spoke about the project? Okay. I'm just wondering, as far as the 2 units that couldn't be entered because they weren't home, which will be a problem, across this process. What would be done in that instance, as far as revisiting or getting a new appointment? Is that how the process would work in order to get the inspection complete? And I think you're being pretty optimistic about how long it's going to take to get these inspections done. You think it's going to be so many per year? I would say it would probably be twice that. That's how it always works out. And it's going to be difficult to get those inspections scheduled or rescheduled. So I just think you're being optimistic about the time that it's going to take. And it seems like the city wants to get into one business or the other, water, project management or property management. Be nice if the city just focus on, but the inspections are a good idea, but I think you're going about it too hastily. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Garcia. All right, are there any other public comments? Are there any on Zoom?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, hang on a minute. Okay, I'll now close the public hearing. So now I'm going to take a motion. All right, does anybody on council have any comments before I?
I'd like to acknowledge and agree that I do think that there will be some issues that come up and things that we're not anticipating happening. I would encourage staff to keep notes of maybe things that need to be amended or changed to keep the processes moving smoother. If there's some part of it that just doesn't make sense once we get into the weeds, like we can have them removed. We can refine this as we go. But I think, you know, it would be nice to get the process started, whether we call it a pilot or a trial period or whatnot. You know, I just want to remind everybody that we do have the opportunity in the future to change things as we need to. So I think it's good to be optimistic.
Thank you, Councilman Newton. Are there any other comments from council?
I have a comment,
Hmm?
or I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Well, I want to first thank Putin and Slutin for having doing this and meeting with everyone and it going back and forth. You know, one thing I do want to comment is that back in 2013, I had an apartment and I was given a 10-day notice for an inspection, and that was in Redwood City. And I happened to be working at the time, and so the landlord had a key and they went in and did the inspection. So I think it's a common thing as long as we're giving notice to the people and we're giving them a heads up. And I don't know if that's in the works, like if that's something that we're doing as far as how many days notice. And then, you know, if landlords are present or, you know, something like that. But I think that is important just for the privacy purpose. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But I like this ordinance and I'm glad that we were able to work out the kinks, and I hope it has a lot of success and helps out our people of the city.
Thank you, Councilmember Downey. Any other comments? Councilmember Wilson, nothing? Vice Mayor? I know you always have a comment.
No, I don't. I was gonna make a motion.
Well, then let me get my comment on. Hang on. I also agree. I think your comments are well stated, Councilmember Hooten. Listening through this process, I know I requested, I think Mr. Hughes is one that actually requested a committee. I guess he was on the committee. I understand he wasn't on it the whole time, but I think we gave the realtors a great opportunity to participate, and as from my understanding, they did, and we made some changes. This is something that's been out there for a long time. It needs to be corrected and needs to move forward. So now I will take a motion to on the item. I've closed the public hearing. What?
Well,
Oh, you have something?
Well, I was just gonna make one quick comment. There were several mentions to a pilot project, and we did talk about it at the last meeting with the realtors. I mean, we need to adopt an ordinance in order to have something to enforce. So, you know, I'm not exactly sure how to do the pilot project, but I did offer that staff would be more than happy to, if the council moves forward with this program, to come back in 6 months or a year or whatever and have another meeting with them and debrief and get any lessons learned or suggestions they may have, and then bring any of that input back to the council for possible amendments if warranted.
Thank you. That sounds like a great idea, actually. So, all right, everybody else? Anyone else have anything? Now, Vice Mayor.
I move that we approve ordinance number 279-2025, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Clear Lake, amending section 9-4 of chapter 9 of the City of Clear Lake Municipal Code regarding rental housing unit registration, inspection, and inventory.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion has been made by Vice Mayor Slotin and seconded by Council Member Downey. Now we can vote on the portal.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll now move on to business items. This first item, number 9, discussion and consideration of the Lake County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan and incorporation into the safety element of the City of Clear Lake General Plan. Going to be
Director Label will
Director
introduce the item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Tonight, the City Council is being asked to approve Resolution 2025-31, adopting the Lake County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan, incorporating hazard mitigation information into the safety element of the City of Clear Lake General Plan as required by FEMA. A little background on this. The Lake County Office of Emergency Services, along with the City of Lakeport and the City of Clear Lake, has completed the 2024-2025 Lake County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan project. Lake County OES, the City of Lakeport and Clear Lake hired the Resiliency Initiative, TRI, the consulting firm that has supported us in the updating process. Tonight, we have Faith Newton, who is our consultant with the Resilience Initiative, who is on Zoom right now to give us a little presentation.
Thank you, Addie, and thank you, council, for the time this evening. My name is Faith Newton with. Are you able to hear me?
it should show we can't hear her.
Well, she's muted.
Speaker is muted. At the bottom of the page there.
It's supposed to be.
Are you able to hear me now? Good evening. Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. And I appreciate the time this evening. My name is Faith Newton with the Resiliency Initiative. And it's been our pleasure to work with Clear Lake along with Lakeport and the county on the multi-jurisdiction hazard mitigation plan. Within this plan, there is a base plan that is covering the unincorporated area of the county and then a specific Clear Lake annex. Your Clear Lake annex is broken out into identical chapters that mirror Lakeport and the county. So that is all flowing together to have a consistent and cohesive viewpoint. In chapter 1, we identified how we went about the process. We had a hazard mitigation planning committee and several public sessions throughout this process. We made sure that we had a collective view from all organizations and opportunities for the public to be engaged in this process through a working group, the Hazard Mitigation Committee, as well as public input. These were engaged throughout multi-steps across the process and working through the project. The committee was made up of representatives that had initially worked on the county's hazard mitigation plan back in 2023 and were approved by the Board of Supervisors to continue this process for the 2024-2025 multi-jurisdiction process. With the public input, we had several workshops that are listed within Chapter 1 of the annex, as well as conducted a survey of the community population where we provided the opportunity for the public to seek input and provide information back to our group as we worked through the different hazards for the different jurisdictions within the county. Additionally, each jurisdiction maintained a project website throughout this process to keep up information and updates as we moved throughout the assessment and the changes to the mitigation plan. In Chapter 2, we reviewed the hazards of concern in the area for each jurisdiction, reviewing from your previous plan into the current version. The hazards are consistent across the overall base plan for the county, Clear Lake and Lakeport. So we had to do an analysis of all of the potential hazards and then verifying that to the specifics for the jurisdiction. In chapter 3, we go through the overall profiling for specifically in the annex Clear Lake, looking at demographics and the conditions of the jurisdiction and making sure we're looking at it with a specific lens. And then 4 through 15 of the annex was reviewing the individual hazards that were identified through the committee and through feedback as being the concerns to be addressed in the hazard mitigation plan. And so each chapter is specific to the hazard. It is a hazard profile, a hazard review, reviewing past incidents, as well as dating data and information of the conditions for each jurisdiction. So specifically in the Clear Lake Annex, how all of these are perceived for the jurisdiction of Clear Lake. Mitigation actions, again, are consistent by the overall goal and objective that we have aligned with the project. But Clear Lake specifically has 32 mitigation actions that are identified in their annex. Some of these are in progress, some of them have not been started, and then we added some new as part of the process as well. These are all reviewed through our public workshops and with the Hazard Mitigation Committee. And then the last of the chapter is the adoption and maintenance. And so it is an ongoing plan that is required and as a part of the process. And so we will move forward with that adoption. And the way we're going through that is the Hazard Mitigation Committee was the first initial review and approval from a local perspective. This plan was then sent to the California Office of Emergency Services for their review, revisions, and approval to align with California requirements. It has since been sent to FEMA and has been reviewed and approved from FEMA, meeting the requirements for a multi-jurisdiction plan. And then ultimately, to have a multi-jurisdictional plan, each jurisdiction has to individually approve and adopt their components. And so we're in that process now, with tonight being Clear Lake. Lakeport is scheduled for the 16th, and then this will go in front of the Board of Supervisors. And once all jurisdictions have approved, you will have a finalized 2025 multi-jurisdiction hazard mitigation plan. It's been our pleasure to support this process, and I will turn this back over to Addie. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from council? All right. Any comments from public? Okay. Hang on. Any on Zoom? I'm getting an echo. Okay. Back for
Lake County Disaster Declaration. I'm missing the sulfur fire on there. Good catch. That was in October in 17.
Are you looking at the annex or the,
Table 6.
which document?
I don't know.
Disaster declarations.
States, is it page? Table 6, Lake County Disaster Declarations. It goes back to 2006. And the sulfur fire was in October 2017, which is not on there. Was there no declaration at that point on?
No, there was. I mean, I still don't know which document you're looking at. There's two of them that are attached here, but I
It's
mean, this
page
is,
30.
we
Page
can,
30 of the
if you
document.
wanna
I'm just curious.
tell us to add it, I mean, it's
I think it's
not relevant to the mitigation measures, but we can add it in, make sure it gets in there. I mean, it definitely was a declared disaster, so.
Okay.
Thank you for that catch. I agree with you. It should be added. Okay. Any other comments, questions? Ready to take a motion? Anybody?
I move that we approve. I move that we approve resolution 2025-31, a resolution of the city council of the city of Clear Lake adopting the Lake County multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. It's September 4th, 2025, and incorporating hazard mitigation information into the safety element of the city of Clear Lake general plan.
Motion's been made by Vice Mayor Slotin.
I second.
Clarify as amended with the.
Amended. Second by Councilmember Downey. I think she beat you to it. Don't you vote in your portal?
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay. We'll now move on to item 10. Award of a contract for the Arrowhead Road / Huntington Avenue Drainage Project. City Manager Flora.
Project Manager Hayes will present the staff report.
Good evening, council. The city council is being asked to approve a contract for the Arrowhead Road Huntington Avenue Drainage Project. And authorize the city manager to approve up to 10% for additional unforeseen contract amendments. The city solicited proposals through OpenGov on August 11th, and we opened the bids on September 2nd, earlier this week. We got 6 bids from contractors. The lowest bid was from Precision Excavating and Grading for $161,162. The city would like to award the contract to the lowest responsible bidder, being Precision Excavating and Grading. That's my report.
Thank you. Any questions? No questions on this side? No? Open it up to the public. Do you have any comments? Seeing none, bring it back on Zoom. Are there any comments?
There are no comments on the Zoom, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, back for deliberation and motion. All right. Councilmember Downey.
I move to approve the contract for the Arrowhead Road / Huntington Avenue project and authorize the city manager to approve up to 10% for additional unforeseen contract amendments.
Thank you. Motion has been made by
Seconded.
Councilmember Downey and seconded by Councilmember Wilson. Please vote in your portal.
Motion passes with unanimous vote of the council.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we'll now move on to city manager and council member reports. For norms and procedures, council reports at the end of the council meeting shall be limited to announcing mayor appointed, what's this? Announcing mayor appointed regional board activities on which council members serve, city and city sponsored activities and items which directly affect the city. City manager Flora, do you have any comments that directly affect the city?
Just a couple, Mr. Mayor, that I wanted to mention. For whatever reason, there's been a number of water leaks around town lately. So there was one on Oakmont last week. There's a pretty significant one in the Tree Streets. That's both Golden State's territory. And then one in the village. So keep an eye on those. Some of those are gonna require some significant road reconstruction after they're fixed. And then we had a call today. We got the overview of what's called our RENA numbers. So these are state mandated numbers of housing that we're supposed to produce. We're almost at the end of our current housing element cycle. So that ends in 2027. And so we're gonna have to start working on updating our housing element, and the state is working through the new allocation of housing units. So unfortunately, the state's projecting that all of Lake County has declining population, but we are being given at this time a 40% increase in the housing units that we're supposed to produce over what we had to do over the last period. So a little confusing, significantly frustrating. We have until next Friday to file an appeal with HCD, so I don't know how successful it'll be, but the three jurisdictions are going to be working together on filing that. And so, so they provide a general allocation of numbers of units that have to be produced in the county, and then the three jurisdictions are going to have to work together, create criteria, and determine what the numbers are for each jurisdiction. So we'll keep you updated on that process as we move forward, but not the greatest news. While, it's frustrating that, we've been successful in generating the sort of affordable low and very low units that the state has required of us. We're nowhere near producing the number of moderate or above moderate units that they want us to produce. I guess with that, that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Start over to my left, Councilmember Hooten,
I have nothing to report.
Councilmember Wilson.
I attended the League of Cities meeting last week, Friday in Fortuna. A big focus of the meeting was about fire issues. A consultant from the state came in and stated that 1 in every 7 acres in the state has burned in the last 10 years. That there's been 57,502 structures destroyed and a loss of 188 lives. The focus was on what we can do in our cities to mitigate fires, and there was an urging to have people start small. So it could just start with something as simple as taking the wood chips from around your house, and then people will likely keep on once they get into the habit. But right now, there was an agreement that a lot of people are angry about the fire maps, etc. But the fact is, fires are here, and we have to step up to make sure that they don't impact our cities as much as they have.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilson. Councilmember Downey.
I have nothing to report.
Vice Mayor Slotin.
Nothing to report.
And I have nothing to report. Well, we limited it to city items, so I couldn't talk about this. Moving right along. Future agenda items. Any council member wish to get consensus to place an item on a future agenda? Well, not at this time. All righty. So I think that we will now at 6:17 adjourn to closed session. After a short break.